Hello students, this is your economics teacher Ayana. I hope you are well and utilizing the time wisely.
In the previous class, you learned about Chapter 1, Introduction to Microeconomics. Today, you are going to learn about Chapter 2, Consumption Analysis. Firstly, we will discuss human wants, classifications of goods, the law of diminishing marginal utility, and the law of Yuki marginal utility. Please watch this video very carefully till the end. Fine, let us enter into the chapter 2, consumption analysis. Firstly, we will discuss human wants and its characteristics. First, meaning of human wants. The existence of human wants is the basis of all economic activity in a society. All desires, taste and motives of human being are called wants in economics. There are some important causes for human wants. First, wants may arise due to elementary and psychological causes. The wants for food, clothing and housings are elementary and psychological. Second, wants may arise due to social causes. As member of society, we may require a particular type of dress or food. Third, wants arise due to customs and habits like drinking tea and chewing. Fourth, wants may arise due to advertisement. In the early days of civilization, wants of men were few and simple. With the advancement of civilization, wants have become unlimited and also complex. Man tries to satisfy most of his wants through economic activity. Since the resources are limited, he has to choose between urgent wants and not so urgent wants. A systematic survey of this process is called consumption. Consumption means using up of goods and services in the satisfactions of human wants. Students, take the page number 25, human wants. In ordinary language, desires and want mean the same thing, but in economics they have different meanings. Wants are the basis for human behavior to buy and consume goods. Next topic, characteristics of human wants. There are some important characteristics of human wants. They are, first, wants are unlimited. Man is a bundle of desires. There is no limit to human wants. If one set of wants are fulfilled, immediately another set of wants would be felt. Even the richest man will have a list of wants to be fulfilled. In short, human wants are countless in numbers and various in kinds. When one want is satisfied, another want crops up. Human wants multiplied with the growth of civilization and development. Second, wants become habits. If a particular want is satisfied repeatedly by a commodity, then it becomes a habit. In short, wants become habit. For example, when a man starts reading newspaper in the morning, it becomes a habit. Same is the case with the drinking tea or chewing pans. Third, wants are satiable. Wants in general are unlimited, but a single or a particular want is satiable. We can completely satisfy a single want. A man is hungry and he required food. By spending some money on food, he can get food and satisfy his hunger. In short, though we cannot satisfy all wants at the same time, we can satisfy particular want at a given time. Fourth, wants are alternative. A want can be satisfied by two or more goods or by two or more methods. A want for hot drink may be satisfied by coffee or tea. We may go by bus or train or by taxi to reach our destination. Thus, a want can be satisfied by many ways. In short, there are alternative ways to satisfy a particular want. Example, Italy, dosa, or chapati. Next, wants are competitive. Wants are unlimited. The resources and the time at our disposal are much limited and we cannot satisfy all wants. So the wants will be competing to get satisfied. One set of wants may be competing with other set of wants to get preference of choosing first. For example, Raju has a sum of rupees 20. With this amount of rupees 20, he has to choose between going to a movie or cinema, buying a magazine or buying vegetables. Of course, a consumer will choose the more urgent wants and distribute his income on several goods in such a manner as to get maximum satisfaction. In short, all our wants are not equally important. So there is a competition among wants. Hence, we have to choose more urgent wants than less urgent wants. Next, wants are complementary. Some wants are complementary in nature, that is, they have to be satisfied together. Though the want may be single one, we required many commodities and services to satisfy that want. Want for writing includes want for paper, pen and ink. In short, sometimes satisfactions of a particular wants requires the use of more than one commodity. Last, wants are recurring. Some wants recur again and again. For example, if we feel hungry, we take food and satisfy our wants. But after some time, we again feel hungry and want food. Secondly, you are going to learn about classifications of goods. Student, take the page number 26. Goods are broadly classified into three categories. There are necessaries, comforts and luxuries. First, necessaries. Goods which are indispensable for the human being to exist in the world are called necessaries. Necessaries are those which are essential for living. Man requires certain basic things to live. He wants food, clothing and shelter. Without these things, life is impossible. Second, comforts. Goods which are not indispensable for life but to make our life easy, convenient and comfortable are called comforts. Comforts refers to those goods and services which are not essential for living but which are required for a happy living. A TV, a sofa cum bed, a cushioned revolving chair may be started under comforts. Eating superior variety of food may also add to the happiness of the consumer. Example, eating fruits, drinking milk, etc. Comforts promote efficiency also. Third, luxuries. Those goods that are used to show off one's higher status in life. Goods which are not very essential but are very costly are known as luxuries. Example, jewelry, diamonds and cars. However, for people with higher income, they may look necessaries or comforts. Thirdly, we will discuss the law of diminishing marginal utility. Student, take the page number 27. Law of diminishing marginal utility. Introduction. H. Gosen, an Austrian economist, was the first to formulate this law in economics in 1854. Therefore, Jones called this law as Gosen's first law of consumption. But credit goes to Marshall because he perfected this law on the basis of cardinal analysis. This law is based on the characteristics of human wants, that is, wants are satiable. Definition. Marshall stated that the law as the additional benefit which a person derives from a given increase of the stock of a thing diminishes with every increase in the stock that he already has. This definition there are some important assumptions. First assumption, utility can be measured by cardinal numbers such as 1, 2, 3 and so on. Second, the marginal utility of money of the consumer remains constant. Third, the consumer should be rational consumer and his aims to attain maximum satisfaction or maximum benefits with minimum expenditure. Fourth, the units of commodity consumed must be reasonable in size. Fifth, the commodity consumed should be homogeneous or uniform in characteristics like weight, quality, taste, color, etc. Sixth, the consumptions of goods must take place continuously at a given period of time. Seventh, there should be no change in the taste, habits, preference, fashions, income and character of the consumer during the process of consumption. Explanation. The law of diminishing moral utility stated that if a consumer continues to consume more and more units of the same commodity, its marginal utility diminishes. This means that the more we have of a thing, the less is the satisfaction or utility that we derive from the additional units of it. Suppose Mr. X is hungry and eats apple one by one. The first apple gives him great pleasure or higher utility as he is hungry. When he takes the second apple, the extent of his hunger will reduce. Therefore, he will derive less utility from the second apple. If he continues to take additional apples, the utility derived from the third apple will be less than that of the second one. In this way, the additional utility or marginal utility from the extra units will go on decreasing. If the consumer continues to take more apples, marginal utility falls to zero and then become negative. Student, see the table and diagram. Table 2.1 gives the utility derived by a person from successive units of consumptions of apples. From Table 2.1 and figure 2.1, it is very clear that the marginal utility or addition made to the total utility goes on declining. The consumer derives 20 units of utility from the first apple he consumes. When he consumes the apples continuously, the marginal utility falls to 5 units for the fourth apple and becomes 0 for the fifth apple. The marginal utilities are negative for the sixth and seventh apples. Thus, when the consumer consumes a commodity continuously, the marginal utility declines, reaches 0 and then becomes negative. The total utility or the sum of utility of all the units of consumed goes on increasing and after a certain stage begins to decline. When the marginal utility declines and is greater than 0, the total utility increases. For the first 4 apples, the total utility increases from 20 units to 50 units. When the marginal utility is 0, fifth apple, the total utility is constant 50th units and reaches the maximum. When the marginal utility becomes negative, 6th and 7th units, the total utility declines from 50th units to 45 and then to 35 units. Criticism. Utility cannot be measured numerically because utility is subjective. Deriving utility is a psychological experience. When we say a unit of X gives 10 units of utility, this means that utility can be measured precisely. In reality, utility cannot be measured. For example, when a person sees a film and says it very good, we cannot measure the utility he has derived from it. However, we can measure utility indirectly by the cinema fare he is willing to pay. Second, the law is based on the unrealistic assumption. The law is based on a single commodity consumption mode, that is, a consumer consumes only one good at a time. This is an unrealistic assumption. In real life, a consumer consumes more than one good at a time. Third, this law is not applicable to indivisible commodities. Exception to the law. First, hobbies. Second, drum corps. Third, misers. Fourth, music and poetry. And fifth, readings. Importance or applications of the law of diminishing marginal utility. First point, the law of diminishing marginal utility is one of the fundamental laws of consumption. It has application in several fields of study. Point number 2, The law of diminishing marginal utility is the foundation for various other economic laws. For example, the law of demand is the result of the operations of the law of diminishing marginal utility. In other words, as more and more units of a commodity are consumed, each of them gives less and less marginal utility. This is due to the operations of the law of diminishing marginal utility. As utility falls, consumer is therefore willing to pay a lower price only. Third point, the finance minister taxes a more moneyed person more and a less moneyed person less. When a person income rises, the tax rate rises because the MU or marginal utility of money to him falls with every rise in his income. Thus, the law of diminishing marginal utility is the basis for progressive tax action. Fourth point, the law of diminishing marginal utility operates in the case of money also. A rich man already possesses a lot of money. If more and more money is newly added to his income, marginal utility of money begins to fall. Alfred Marshall assumed that the marginal utility of money remains constant. Fifth point, Adam Smith explains the famous diamond water paradox. Diamond is scarce, hence its marginal utility is high, and its price is high even though it is not very much needed. Water is abundant, hence its marginal utility is low and its price is low even though it's very much essential. Finally, you are going to learn about the law of Yuki marginal utility. The idea of law of Yuki marginal principle was first mentioned by H. H. Gosen 1810 up to 1858 of Germany. Hence, it is called Gosen's second law. Alfred Marshall made significant refinements of this law in his Principles of Economics. The law of diminishing marginal utility is applicable only to the want of a single commodity, but in reality, wants are unlimited and these wants are to be satisfied. Hence, to analyze such a situation, the law of diminishing marginal utility is extended and it is called law of Yuki marginal utility. It is also called the law of substitution, the law of consumer equilibrium, Gosen's second law, and the law of maximum satisfaction. The law of Yuki marginal utility explains the behavior of a consumer when he consumes more than one commodity. Wants are unlimited, but the income which is available to the consumer to satisfy all his wants is limited. This law explains how the consumer spends his limited income on various commodities to get maximum satisfaction. The law of Yuki marginal utility is also known as law of substitution or the law of maximum satisfaction or the principles of proportionality between price and marginal utility. Definition: Marshall stated that the law as if a person has a thing which he can put to several uses, he will distribute it among these uses in such a way that it has the same marginal utility in all. For if it had a greater marginal utility in one use than another, he would gain by taking away some of it from the second use and applying it to first. In short, if a person has a thing which can be put to several uses, he will distribute it among these uses in such a way that it has the same marginal utility in all. Assumption: the consumer is rational in the sense that he wants to get maximum satisfaction. Second assumption: the utility of each commodity is measurable in cardinal members. Third assumption: the marginal utility of money remains constant. Fourth assumption: the income of the consumer is given. Fifth assumption: there is perfect competition in the market. Then sixth assumption: the price of the commodities are given. Seventh assumption: the law of diminishing marginal utility operates. Explanation: the law can be explained with the help of the examples. Suppose a consumer wants to spend his limited income on apple and orange. He is said to be in equilibrium only when he gets maximum satisfaction with his limited income. Therefore, he will be equilibrium when marginal utility of apple divided by price of apple is equal to marginal utility of orange divided by price of orange is equal to K. Student, take the page number 30. That is MUA by PA is equal to MUO by PO is equal to K. That is, marginal utility of apple divided by price of apple is equal to marginal utility of oranges is equal to price of oranges is equal to M. K means constant marginal utility of money. In views of this equilibrium, this law is also called the law of consumer equilibrium. In case MUA by PA, that is marginal utility of apple divided by price of apple is less than MUO by PO, that is marginal utility of oranges price divided by price of oranges. He would transfer the money from apple to orange till it is equal. This process of substitution gives him maximum satisfaction both from apple and orange. Hence, the law is also called the law of substitution. Illustration. This law can be illustrated with the help of a table 2.2. Let us assume that the consumer has a given income of rupees 11. He wants to spend this entire income rupees 11 on apple and orange. The price of an apple and the price of an oranges is rupees 1 each. If the consumer wants to attain maximum utility, he should buy 6 units of apple and 5 units of oranges so that he can get 92 plus 58 is equal to 150 units. No other combination of apples and oranges can give higher than 150 utilities. Here, MUA by PA is equal to MUO by PO, that is 4 by 1 is equal to 4 by 1. A2, A3 and B2, B3 lines has not been used for explanation. Diagrammatic illustration. In diagram 2.3, x-axis represents the amount of money spent and y-axis represents the marginal utilities of apples and oranges respectively. If the consumer spends rupees 6 on apple and rupees 5 on oranges, the marginal utilities of both are equal, that is AA1 is equal to BB1, that is 4 is equal to 4. Hence, he gets maximum utility. Lastly, criticism. First, in practice, utility cannot be measured, only be felt. Second, criticism. This law cannot be applied to durable goods.
That's all for today. We will continue in the next class. Finish the assignment by clicking the link below.